For centuries, men have searched for the single key that would unlock the doors to fortune, influence, peace of mind, and personal greatness. They have turned to kings, to priests, to scholars, and to charlatans. They have climbed mountains, consulted sages, read 1,000 books, and spent lifetimes in labor, only to find themselves at the end of their journey tired, uncertain, and still enslaved by the same fears, doubts, and chains that held them at the beginning. And yet, I say to you, there is a key. It is not buried. It is not hidden in mystery. It has been in plain sight, waiting only for the man who has eyes to see and ears to hear. That key is found in the 16 laws of success. When you grasp them, you will no longer stumble as a blind man in a strange land. You will walk as one who holds the title deed to life itself. You will command money because you will understand money is only an obedient servant. You will command opportunity because you will know that opportunity bows to definiteness and persistence. You will command respect because respect cannot be withheld from the man who has mastered himself. But before I show you what awaits you if you seize this key, let me show you the curse that comes if you ignore it. For every law of success has its opposite. For every principle neglected, there is a penalty inflicted. For every truth resisted, there is a chain forged. Picture this. You wake in the morning with no burning desire, no chief aim, no definite plan. The alarm sounds and you strike it with irritation because life has become a dull repetition of yesterday. You stumble into a job you despise under the orders of a man you do not respect, and every hour feels like a theft of your soul. You look at your children, and though you love them, you see disappointment in their eyes, for you have given them nothing but excuses. You look at your wife, and though she endures, she knows you promised her more than this. You look at your own reflection, and you know you have betrayed yourself. That is the penalty of drifting. That is the judgment handed down to every man who refuses to learn the laws that govern achievement. For nature does not excuse ignorance. The law of gravity does not spare the child who steps off a ledge. The law of success does not pardon the man who fails to obey it. Now picture the opposite. Imagine rising with a burning purpose so definite it draws you from your bed as fire pulls oxygen. Imagine walking into your work with the authority of one who knows he is not a hireling, but a builder, a leader, a creator. Imagine your children looking at you not with pity, but with pride, whispering to one another, "That is my father." Imagine your wife standing taller, because she knows she is the partner of a man who keeps his promises. Imagine your enemies gnashing their teeth in silence, forced to confess even through their envy that you have become untouchable. This is not a fantasy. This is law. And the difference between those two lives, the one of quiet failure, the other of triumphant success, lies in whether or not you master these 16 laws of success. Let me show you the path. Introduction. The two roads before you. Life places before every man two roads. One is broad, crowded, and easy. It requires nothing but drifting, excuses, procrastination, and surrender to fear. It leads to the wasted life, broken health, broken hopes, broken promises, and broken hearts. On this road, you will be mocked by your enemies, ignored by your friends, and pitied by your children. You will hear the ticking of the clock not as opportunity, but as the sound of your life draining away. The other road is narrow, demanding, and lonely at first. It requires discipline, faith, persistence, and the courage to stand alone. But it leads to riches of every kind, money that grows faster than you can spend it, friendships with men of power and character, respect that cannot be bought or faked, and peace of mind that makes even sleep an act of triumph. On this road, you will be honored by your family, admired by strangers, and envied even by those who once ridiculed you. The 16 laws are the compass, the map, and the torch for this narrow road. Without them, you will drift back to the broad one, no matter how fiercely you wish for success. With them, you cannot fail. Let us descend first into the pit and see what becomes of the man who dares to ignore these laws. Without this knowledge, he drifts like a ship without a rudder. He has strength, but it is scattered. He has ideas, but they are unfocused. He rises each morning with no definite aim, and so he spends his days as a servant to the aims of others, employers, politicians, schemers. His talents, meant for greatness, are wasted in small errands and empty labor. When opportunity comes to him, he hesitates, he doubts, he waits. And while he waits, another man, one armed with confidence, seizes the reward. He looks back later and says, I could have, I should have, but by then, the moment has already passed. He copies instead of creates. He complains instead of commands. He is endured, never admired. He offends more than he inspires. His emotions master him. His appetites devour him. He lives for comfort and receives poverty. He fears failure, and in fearing, he multiplies it. He curses adversity instead of mining it for hidden treasure. Look at the world, and you will see such men everywhere. You will find them beaten before they begin, bitter in middle age, broken in old age. They are your warning. They are the living proof that without these laws, defeat is inevitable. But lift your eyes higher and picture the man who learns these laws, obeys them, and makes them his very breath. He doesn't wonder what to do. He knows. His aim burns within him like a star, and every step he takes is aligned with it. He speaks and others listen because his words carry the conviction of faith. He acts and others follow because his presence radiates command. He fails, but instead of crumbling, he studies his defeat, turns it into wisdom, and rises stronger than before. Such a man does not drift. He builds. He multiplies. He carries himself as though success were already secured, and life bows to his certainty. His friends admire him, his family stands proud beside him, and even his enemies, though they may hate, cannot help but respect the strength that radiates from him. This man cannot be stopped. He is the master of himself, of others, of circumstances. He is not the toy of chance, but the maker of destiny. But hear me carefully. To neglect even one of these laws is to invite disaster. The man who applies 15 and ignores the 16th is like a general who builds an impregnable fortress but leaves a single gate unguarded. The enemy will always find the unguarded gate. History itself testifies. Napoleon Bonaparte rose higher than almost any man of his age. He mastered discipline, imagination, concentration, initiative, persistence. With these, he bent Europe to his will. But he ignored one law, the law of tolerance. His pride, his lack of harmony with others, his contempt for limits brought his empire crashing down. He won battles, but lost himself. And though his name remains famous, it is not the fame of honor. It is the fame of warning. What will history say of you? Will it record that you mastered yourself in full, or that you fell because you neglected one corner of the foundation? So I place before you two visions. The first is of you 10 years from now, slouched in a chair, weary, explaining to your son why you never achieved what you promised, blaming bad luck, while deep inside you know the truth. It was cowardice, drift, and neglect. The second is of you 10 years from now, standing tall, your name spoken with respect, your family secure, your wealth multiplying, your conscience clear, and even your enemies forced into silence before your victories. The difference between these two futures lies in whether or not you seize the 16 laws of success. The choice is yours. The laws are here. They do not bend, they do not break, they do not excuse. They can make you rich in money, rich in friends, rich in power, rich in peace, or they can make you poor in all. This is the threshold. Step through and you will never be the same. So fix your attention. Listen as though your children's future were watching you, because it is. Listen as though your enemies were plotting against you, because they are. Listen as though your destiny will be decided by your obedience to these next words, because it will. Law 1. definite chief aim. No man can hope to rise above mediocrity until he fixes his heart and mind upon a definite chief aim. Without a definite aim, life is wasted in drifting. A drifting man may possess strength, imagination, or opportunity, yet because his effort is scattered, he accomplishes nothing. 90 days of drifting become 900, and years are lost. The penalty of drifting is regret, and the remedy is definiteness. Henry Ford chose an aim that seemed ridiculous to his age, to put the common man on wheels. He was not content to tinker with automobiles for the rich. His definite aim was to create a motor car that could be produced cheaply, maintained easily, and owned by every family. Men laughed at him, investors doubted him, but Ford's definiteness never wavered. He fixed his eye upon his purpose and bent every ounce of thought and energy to it. Within a short span, his aim crystallized into the Model T and an empire. Andrew Carnegie, too, fixed upon an aim: mastery of steel. He did not wander from coal to textiles to railroads as so many did. He aimed at steel with such definiteness that all other opportunities were measured against it and discarded if they conflicted. By pouring himself into this single aim, Carnegie built one of the greatest fortunes the world has ever known. His aim acted as a magnet that drew to him men of talent, capital, and opportunity. The drifting man may protest, "I do not know my aim." That is no excuse, for desire speaks within every heart. What is it that stirs your imagination, that excites your soul, that you dream of in secret? That is your aim. Write it down. Do not trust it to memory. Fix it in black and white, where your eyes may see it daily. Then read it aloud each morning upon rising and each night before retiring. Read it with feeling until your subconscious accepts it as a command. This daily ritual is not suggestion, it is law. Repetition engraves the aim upon your mind until your every thought and act bend unconsciously toward its fulfillment. A vague dream becomes definite. A wavering desire becomes a burning obsession. 90 days of this practice will set you apart from 90% of men who continue to drift without compass. I have studied more than 500 men of great achievement, and I tell you with certainty, every one of them had a definite chief aim. None of them drifted into greatness. Their aims may have differed: wealth, invention, leadership, but all were definite. This is no accident. Nature herself demands definiteness. A seed planted without soil, water, and light withers. A man without an aim withers just the same. Do not fear that your aim is too bold. Life respects boldness. Do not fear that your aim is too high. The loftiest towers are built upon foundations as simple as stone and mortar. Your task is not to shrink your aim to fit your doubts, but to expand your faith to fit your aim. Say aloud with me now, "I know what I want. I demand it of life. I fix my heart upon it and bend my every thought to its attainment. My aim is clear, my will is unshakable, my destiny is certain." Repeat this until it is not merely words, but identity. For when a man knows what he wants and demands it with persistence, the world has no choice but to yield. Without definiteness, you will waste 10, 20, even 30 years wandering from one pursuit to another. With definiteness, 90 days of disciplined thought and action will accomplish more than years of indecision. This is how you save decades of your life, by fixing your aim now, obeying it daily, and refusing to drift. Definiteness is the first law because all others depend upon it. Faith must have an aim to cling to. Persistence must have an aim to pursue. Discipline must have an aim to enforce. Attention must have an aim to focus. Without a definite chief aim, the other laws collapse. With it, they unite into irresistible power. Therefore choose. Write, speak, believe, act. Let no day pass without reaffirming your aim. Let no man dissuade you. Let no fear silence you. For the man with a definite aim is already halfway to victory, while the man without one is already defeated. Remember this truth: nature does not excuse ignorance. The law of success does not pardon the man who drifts, but it richly rewards the man who fixes his aim, for he has aligned himself with the principle by which all progress is made. Fix your definite chief aim today, and the next 90 days will purchase for you not only results, but identity. You will no longer be a wanderer. You will be a builder. You will no longer be a servant. You will be a master. You will no longer be a drifter. You will be a man of destiny. Law 2, self-confidence and faith. No man can rise above mediocrity until he believes that he can. Faith is the eternal elixir that gives life, power, and action to desire. Self-confidence is faith turned inward, the assurance that the man himself has the strength to achieve what he desires. Together, they are the very breath of all achievement. Without them, 90 days of effort collapse into nothing. With them, 90 days can condense decades into a season of triumph. Faith is not a timid hope. Hope waits upon chance, but faith commands life to obey. Faith is not a wish muttered in secrecy. It is a blazing certainty that seizes the mind and bends it toward fulfillment. The man who hopes says, "If it is meant to be, it will be." The man of faith says, "Because I will it and act upon it, it shall be." Hope postpones. Faith insists. Hope drifts. Faith advances. Faith must be planted through the principle of autosuggestion. The subconscious mind does not argue. It obeys what is impressed upon it with repetition and emotion. Speak to yourself each day. I believe in myself. I believe in my aim. I believe the resources of life will bend to my will. I believe I am destined for greatness. Say this aloud each morning and evening until your subconscious, like fertile soil, accepts the seed as truth. Consider John D. Rockefeller. In the early days, oil was uncertain. Wells dried up, fortunes were lost, men called it unstable. But Rockefeller believed. His faith was so absolute that he persisted where others abandoned the field. That faith turned poverty into riches, obscurity into power, uncertainty into empire. Without faith, he would have quit with the rest. With faith, he mastered oil, and through it, wealth beyond imagination. Charles M. Schwab rose from modest beginnings to preside over the greatest steel company of his age. He did so not merely through skill, but through confidence. His presence radiated assurance. Men trusted his leadership because he trusted himself. Carnegie saw in Schwab not merely ability, but faith in his own capacity. That faith drew opportunities to him. His confidence turned ordinary days into milestones. Contrast these men with the doubter. The doubter wastes decades asking, "Can I?" He studies, prepares, hesitates, waits for assurance. But while he waits, another man, one less skilled but more confident, seizes the prize. The doubter consoles himself by blaming chance, but the truth is merciless. His own lack of faith chained him. Doubt is poverty in the making, and self-confidence is riches in the making. Faith is contagious. When you speak with conviction, men believe you, even before results are visible. When you walk with confidence, doors open, allies gather, opportunities appear. Faith in yourself radiates outward until it persuades others to have faith in you. This is why faith must be cultivated as a habit. 90 days of constant affirmation, spoken with feeling, will ingrain it so deeply that doubt will no longer find lodging in your mind. Do not say to yourself, "I will try." The language of faith is, "I will." Do not whisper, "Perhaps." The language of faith is, "It shall be done." Do not wait to see the path clear before you begin. Begin, and the path will clear. Faith precedes evidence, for it is faith itself that creates the evidence. If you wait until you see results before you believe, you will never believe at all. Thomas Edison faced thousands of failures in his search for light. Each experiment seemed to testify against him, but faith prevented him from interpreting failure as defeat. He believed so strongly that light could be harnessed that each failure became proof that he was closer to success. Without faith, he would have wasted years and abandoned the quest. With faith, he collapsed centuries of darkness into a single invention. I say to you, the next 90 days must be lived under the rule of faith. You must speak it, write it, live it, breathe it. Each morning, stand before your mirror and declare aloud, I believe in myself. I believe in my definite aim. I believe that infinite intelligence flows through me, guiding and empowering my every act. Do not whisper it timidly. Speak it with feeling, as though you were commanding an army. For indeed, you are commanding the greatest army, your own thoughts. Each evening, repeat the ritual. Before retiring, speak your faith aloud, visualize your aim achieved, and fall asleep in the conviction that it is already yours. The subconscious, thus instructed, will work through the night, aligning circumstances and opportunities for your benefit. 90 days of this practice will ingrain faith so deeply that no setback, no criticism, no ridicule can shake it. Remember always that faith is not merely for grand moments. It must be lived daily. Have faith in your decision, faith in your persistence, faith in your worth. Each small act carried out with faith becomes compounded, multiplying results. Each day of doubt delays you by months. Each day of faith advances you by years. This is how faith shortens time and saves decades of your life. Repeat with me. I believe with absolute certainty. I believe in my aim, my power, my destiny. My faith makes these 90 days sufficient to purchase a new life. Speak this until you feel it in your very bones. For when you believe, the world must obey. The penalty of neglecting this law is severe. The man who doubts lives a lifetime of half efforts. He begins and abandons, dreams and hesitates, plans, and never acts. He excuses his failures as fate, but fate is not to blame. His doubt condemned him. His lack of faith lengthened his journey by decades. He arrives at old age with empty hands, whispering, if only. But the man of faith lives differently. He acts as though success is certain, and success comes. He speaks as though power already flows through him, and power flows. He commands his subconscious daily, and his subconscious creates. He believes when others doubt, and he advances while others stagnate. His 90 days produce what others waste 30 years seeking. Faith redeems time, magnifies power, and engraves destiny. Therefore, I command you, plant faith today, guard it as treasure, feed it with affirmations, strengthen it with action, protect it from the poison of ridicule and fear, make it your constant companion. For with faith, you need not wonder if success will come. With faith, success is inevitable. Law 3, initiative and leadership. The man who waits to be told what to do will always remain a servant. Initiative is the power that separates the leader from the follower. Leadership is not granted by title or birth. It is seized by the man who dares to act without waiting, who creates movement where others stand still. 90 days of initiative practiced daily can carry you farther than 10 years of waiting for permission. Most men live as though they are children, waiting for a master to give orders. They perform tasks because they are told, not because they have chosen. They stand idle when the path is unclear, hoping another will show the way. Such men drift, and because they drift, they remain chained to mediocrity. Opportunity appears, but because they hesitate, another man, bolder, takes it. Initiative is the dividing line between the man who commands his destiny and the man who serves another's. Charles M. Schwab was a master of initiative. When working under Carnegie, he did not wait for instructions. He saw improvements that could be made in the steel mills and took it upon himself to reorganize. His energy and initiative so impressed Carnegie that he rose from a common worker to president of United States Steel. Schwab's advancement was not granted. It was seized through initiative. Had he waited, he would have died unknown. Abraham Lincoln, in the darkest days of the Union, did not wait for perfect guidance. When others hesitated, fearing criticism, Lincoln took command. He issued the Emancipation Proclamation, though he knew it would divide. He made decisions when the world was against him. His leadership was not born from consensus, but from initiative. He led because he acted. Others followed because his initiative inspired confidence. Initiative requires courage. It demands that you act before you are certain. It demands that you step forward into criticism, ridicule, and possible failure. But only by acting do you prove yourself worthy of leadership. Cowards hesitate and lose decades. The man of initiative shortens decades into seasons. He creates opportunity by acting upon ideas that others dismiss. For the next 90 days, you must practice daily initiative. Each day, perform one act that no one commanded you to do. Seek out a way to improve your work, strengthen your body, increase your knowledge, or advance your aim. Do it without waiting for approval. 90 such acts will ingrain initiative into your very nature. At the end, you will no longer wait to be told, you will command yourself. Say aloud, I act before commanded, I lead before invited. My initiative opens doors, my leadership compels respect. Repeat this each morning until your subconscious accepts it. When you act with initiative, men will begin to look to you for guidance. Leadership is not claimed in words, but demonstrated in deeds. Understand this truth. The world crowns no man for waiting. Titles follow action, not hesitation. The general becomes such because he acted when others retreated. The businessman becomes such because he dared to move where others stalled. The inventor becomes such because he persisted when others abandoned. Initiative is the mother of leadership. The danger of waiting for orders is severe. It builds the habit of servitude. Each day you delay, you weaken your will. Each year you remain timid, you forfeit opportunities. At the end of life, the man who always waited finds himself forgotten, his name unspoken, his talents wasted. But the man of initiative is remembered, respected, and often envied, for he seized what others feared to touch. Thomas Edison did not invent the phonograph or light bulb by waiting for instructions. He took initiative, experimenting relentlessly, even when failures mounted. His leadership of entire teams of assistants was born from his initiative to try again, to direct new efforts, to push forward despite uncertainty. His initiative created a movement of invention that changed the world. Henry Ford, too, did not wait for wealthy men to approve his dream of a car for the common man. He built models with his own hands, failed, and began again. His initiative brought him ridicule, yet he pressed forward. His leadership drew men to him, and soon those same critics were his customers. 90 days of Ford's initiative were worth more than decades of another man's silence. Leadership, therefore, is not a mystery. It is the natural reward of initiative. Men follow the one who acts, not the one who speaks of acting. Men respect the one who dares, not the one who dreams without moving. Initiative is the spark. Leadership is the flame. 90 days of daily initiative will ignite leadership that cannot be ignored. So I instruct you now, for 90 days, act each day without waiting. Do not ask, should I? Ask, why not? Do not postpone until tomorrow. Move today. Speak today. Decide today. Lead today. Each day compounds until you awaken on the 91st day with a new identity, a leader, a creator, a commander of your destiny. Repeat with me. I act without fear. I lead with courage. I create opportunity through initiative. I am no longer a servant of hesitation. I am a master of action. These words, spoken with conviction, will carve themselves into your soul. With initiative as your companion, no power on earth can hold you back. Law 4, imagination. Imagination is the workshop of the mind. It is the power by which man fashions thought into plans and plans into reality. Every great fortune, every empire, every invention, every work of art first existed in the mind of a man who dared to imagine it. 90 days of disciplined imagination will save you decades of wandering without vision, for imagination gives birth to definiteness, and definiteness directs all other powers. Thomas Edison's imagination gave the world light. He did not stumble blindly into invention. He pictured what could be before he touched a single instrument. His imagination allowed him to see the invisible and pursue the intangible until it became tangible. Without imagination, his laboratory would have been a house of wasted tools. With imagination, it became a temple of progress. Henry Ford imagined an automobile for the common man when others laughed at the impossibility. He pictured farmers, workers, and families riding with ease across the land. That picture lived in his mind long before the assembly line existed. His imagination created a vision so definite that his entire life bent to its fulfillment. Within a short span, what began as imagination became the reality of millions. Andrew Carnegie imagined steel not as it was, but as it could be. He envisioned a nation of railroads, bridges, and buildings forged from his mills. That vision drew capital, men, and resources to him until his imagination crystallized into wealth of such magnitude that it altered the destiny of a nation. Without imagination, he would have remained a poor immigrant. With it, he became a titan. But imagination is not idle fancy. Many men dream without discipline, and their dreams remain clouds. Idle fancy is a thief of time, producing nothing but regret. Creative imagination is work, requiring focus, persistence, and purpose. It is the deliberate act of forming pictures, refining them into plans, and pressing them into action. The man who indulges in idle dreams wastes decades. The man who trains his imagination saves decades. For the next 90 days, you must practice imagination daily. Each morning, after speaking your definite chief aim, close your eyes and picture it as already achieved. See the details: the house, the office, the bank account, the respect, the freedom. Feel the emotions of success until they burn in your chest. This is not fantasy. It is training your subconscious to believe, and what the subconscious believes, it commands the body and the world to create. Say aloud, I create in mind what I demand in life. My imagination is the workshop where riches are built. I picture my aim, and my aim becomes reality. Repeat this until your subconscious accepts it. 90 days of such practice will ingrain imagination as a habit, and habit becomes destiny. Imagination must also be exercised in solving problems. When obstacles appear, do not curse them. Ask, what picture can I form of victory here? Edison did not see failure in his thousands of experiments. He saw new paths. Lincoln, in the midst of war, imagined a united nation and used that vision to endure. Rockefeller, in crises, imagined larger opportunities and seized them. These men used imagination not to escape reality, but to command it. Beware of borrowed imagination. Many men waste years copying others, imitating instead of creating. Such imitation may bring survival, but never greatness. Your imagination must be your own. Learn from others, but imagine for yourself. 90 days of copying will chain you to mediocrity. 90 days of creating will set you free. Controlled imagination is a discipline. Let your evenings be spent in picturing tomorrow's actions. Before sleep, imagine the next day's victories. Let your subconscious labor through the night to prepare. This nightly practice will save you 10 years of wandering and indecision, for each day will begin with a picture already drawn and a path already chosen. Remember always, imagination is the beginning of every creation. A house, a machine, a business, a fortune, all were imagined first. The drifter mocks imagination and pays the price with decades of mediocrity. The man of vision honors imagination and receives decades of reward in a fraction of the time. So let this be your creed. I dare to imagine. I discipline my imagination. I create visions so strong they bend reality. My imagination is not idle. It is creative, powerful, and definite. 90 days of such practice will make you a master of vision, and the world will follow the pictures you create. Law 5, action and decision. Indecision is the thief of decades. A man may possess burning desire, deep faith, and vivid imagination, yet if he hesitates when the moment for action arrives, he loses everything. The habit of postponing decisions, of waiting for absolute certainty, of seeking the approval of others before moving, robs men not only of fortunes, but of life itself. 90 days of decisive action can accomplish more than 30 years of hesitation. Andrew Carnegie, whose name became synonymous with steel, was a man of rapid and firm decision. Once his mind grasped an opportunity, he acted swiftly and, when necessary, boldly. His competitors wasted months debating. He acted in days. This habit of decision made him the master of opportunity rather than its servant. His wealth was not built on luck, but on decisiveness. Abraham Lincoln, in the midst of war, was forced to decide under pressure. The fate of a nation rested upon his choices. He did not have the luxury of waiting for unanimous approval. His decision to issue the Emancipation Proclamation, though criticized, was final and irrevocable. That act not only reshaped a war, but altered the destiny of a nation. Had he wavered, history itself would have condemned him. The indecisive man wastes decades because each moment of hesitation compounds. While he waits, another man acts. While he gathers more information, another seizes the prize. While he debates, another has already begun. The world does not wait for the hesitant. Opportunity bows only to the decisive. Action and decision are twins. Decision is the thought. Action is the deed. A decision not acted upon is nothing but wish. Too many men deceive themselves by claiming they have decided while they do nothing. A true decision is followed immediately by action. 90 days of acting on your decisions without delay will ingrain a habit that saves you years of wasted chances. Carnegie once said that the great majority of men never achieve because they cannot make decisions quickly and firmly. They drift from one path to another, swayed by the opinions of others, undone by fear of criticism, paralyzed by fear of failure. The successful man decides, stands firm, and if he errs, he corrects his course through persistence. The failure never decides, and so he has nothing to correct. To train yourself in decision, begin now. Each day for the next 90, resolve quickly upon at least one matter, then act. Do not allow yourself to fall back into delay. This practice, though small, builds the muscle of decisiveness. In time, your mind will instinctively choose and act. This habit alone will save you 10 years of hesitation. Say aloud, I decide quickly, I act boldly. My decisions are final, my actions are firm. Indecision has no place in me. Hesitation is my enemy. Decision is my ally. Repeat this until your subconscious accepts it. 90 days of such affirmation, coupled with action, will ingrain decisiveness into your character. Thomas Edison decided to create light and acted, though thousands of failures followed. His decision was not tentative, it was absolute. Each failure was simply another step. He did not redecide each day whether to continue. His initial decision carried him. That is the power of true decision. It creates momentum that endures through failure. Henry Ford decided upon the automobile for the common man. That decision was final. Critics mocked. Investors withdrew. Machines failed. But his decision did not change. Because he acted firmly and continued acting, he achieved in a few decades what others had attempted for generations. The man who drifts never enjoys such power. He spends his years preparing to prepare, waiting to wait, planning to plan. At the end of his life, he is left with nothing but unfulfilled desires and wasted time. The penalty of indecision is defeat. The reward of decision is destiny. I command you now, For 90 days, hesitate no more. Choose swiftly. Act immediately. Do not look back. If correction is needed, persist until you correct it. Better a wrong decision acted upon than no decision at all, for indecision paralyzes, while action produces momentum. The world respects the man who moves, not the man who wavers. Repeat with me once more. I decide quickly. I act boldly. My decisions are my fortress. My actions are my victory. 90 days of decisive living will save me decades of drift. Ingrain this law, and you will never again be a slave to hesitation. You will be the master of your destiny. Law 6, enthusiasm. No man can influence others. No man can hold himself to great effort without enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is the fuel of achievement. It is the force that multiplies persistence, that makes labor a pleasure, that inspires allies, and that burns away the fog of doubt. A man may possess knowledge, but if he presents it without enthusiasm, it falls flat. A man may have skill, but if he acts without enthusiasm, he wearies quickly. Enthusiasm alone transforms drudgery into delight and difficulty into opportunity. Charles M. Schwab was known for his boundless enthusiasm. He carried into the steel business an energy so radiant that it lifted entire companies. When others grew weary, his optimism revived them. When doubt crept in, his cheer drove it out. Carnegie said Schwab's enthusiasm was worth more to him than raw steel, for it inspired men to give their best. Schwab rose from obscurity to leadership not merely by talent, but by enthusiasm. 90 days of Schwab's cheer equaled years of another man's cold efficiency. Enthusiasm is not noise. It is not false cheer or forced smiles. It is the inner fire of belief expressed in tone, manner, and action. Men are drawn to the enthusiastic man because his energy confirms his faith. They say, if he believes so strongly, it must be possible. Enthusiasm persuades where logic fails, for it strikes the heart before the mind. A leader without enthusiasm may be tolerated, but never truly followed. Henry Ford's enthusiasm for his vision infected his workers, investors, and customers. He believed with such vigor that his energy swept aside doubts. His speeches were simple, but his tone convinced. He inspired faith in his aim not by argument, but by enthusiasm. Without it, his critics would have crushed him. With it, he crushed their doubts. Enthusiasm is contagious. A single man burning with passion can ignite hundreds. Edison's laboratory assistants worked long hours, not because they were ordered, but because his enthusiasm compelled them. He radiated such excitement that his men could not help but share it. A team led by enthusiasm multiplies its output, while a team led by cold command barely moves. For the next 90 days, you must kindle enthusiasm daily. Begin each morning by reading your definite chief aim aloud with passion. Do not recite it like a dull chant. Speak it with emotion. Picture it vividly until your whole being trembles with excitement. That excitement will carry into your day. By noon, when fatigue comes, read it again, aloud, with renewed energy. By evening, review it with the same fire. This practice ingrains enthusiasm until it becomes habit. Say aloud, I radiate enthusiasm. I kindle fire in myself and in others. My energy attracts allies, multiplies my power, and shortens the years into days. Repeat until you feel it. For enthusiasm cannot be faked before your subconscious. It must be real. Practice until it becomes natural. Understand that enthusiasm is not only for yourself, it is for others. Speak with vigor. Act with energy. Enter each task as though it were the most important in the world. Men will notice. They will begin to listen, to trust, to follow. Opportunities will be drawn to you, for opportunity loves the enthusiastic. Employers promote them, customers buy from them, allies gather around them. 90 days of enthusiasm will build alliances that another man could not form in years. Cold indifference is poison. A man without enthusiasm repels opportunity. He may be skilled, but his manner kills interest. He may be intelligent, but his voice puts men to sleep. He may be hard-working, but his lack of energy destroys morale. The penalty of coldness is years of wasted labor. The reward of enthusiasm is decades of progress condensed into months. Abraham Lincoln, though often weary, spoke with such conviction that his enthusiasm for the Union stirred even his enemies. His passion, not his logic, held the people. He carried himself with an energy born of purpose, and that energy kept a nation together. Without enthusiasm, his speeches would have been forgotten. With it, they are remembered centuries later. Enthusiasm strengthens persistence. A man who forces himself to act without enthusiasm wearies quickly. A man who acts with passion endures gladly. 90 days of enthusiasm will give you more stamina than years of forced labor. It transforms duty into joy, necessity into privilege. Enthusiasm is the secret that makes hard work light. So I command you, cultivate enthusiasm. Each day stir your spirit before you act. Each day speak your aim with fire. Each day carry yourself as though victory were already yours. Enthusiasm is the cloak of kings, and when you wear it, men cannot help but notice. Repeat once more. I radiate enthusiasm. I inspire confidence. I multiply my power through energy. I carry the fire of belief in all I do. Enthusiasm shortens years into days. 90 days of this practice will ingrain enthusiasm into your identity. And from that moment forward, the world will feel it in your presence. Law 7, self-discipline. No man may hope to master fortune, opportunity, or others until he first masters himself. Self-discipline is the governor of the mind, the guard at the gate of action, the habit that makes persistence unbreakable and decision firm. Without self-discipline, desire burns out, faith falters, initiative collapses, imagination wanders, and enthusiasm turns into folly. But with self-discipline, every other law of success is chained together into harmony. 90 days of self-discipline can save 30 years of regret. Andrew Carnegie built an empire because he mastered himself. He disciplined his time, his words, his spending, his temper. He demanded control from those around him, but first he demanded it from himself. When temptations arose to scatter his efforts or indulge in vanity, discipline kept him loyal to his definite aim. This loyalty to his own purpose compressed decades of wandering into decades of progress. John D. Rockefeller is another monument to discipline. He recorded every penny, kept strict account of his affairs, restrained his impulses, and controlled his emotions. While others wasted profits on extravagance, Rockefeller reinvested. While others indulged in recklessness, he tightened control. That discipline forged not only his fortune, but his character. 90 days of such order in a man's life can save decades of waste. Thomas Edison disciplined his hours. He trained himself to labor beyond fatigue, but not recklessly. He worked with focus and rhythm. He restrained distractions, forced his body to obey his mind, and devoted himself to the great aim before him. His discipline turned failure into stepping stones and made his laboratory a cathedral of persistence. Abraham Lincoln, though fiery by nature, mastered his temper. His discipline of speech made his words immortal. He learned when to remain silent, when to speak softly, and when to thunder. His self-control allowed him to work with rivals, to endure criticism, to appear calm while carrying the burden of a nation. Without discipline, his passion would have consumed him. With discipline, his passion saved a union. Self-discipline demands sacrifice. It requires that you deny yourself small pleasures today to secure great rewards tomorrow. It demands control of appetite, control of speech, control of time, control of thought. The man who indulges his appetites becomes their slave. The man who restrains them becomes their master. 90 days of indulgence enslave a man for years. 90 days of discipline free him for decades. For the next 90 days, practice discipline as a daily law. Rise at the hour you decide, not at the hour laziness dictates. Speak when your words advance your purpose. Remain silent when they do not. Spend only in harmony with your chief aim, not with your impulses. Guard your attention, deny distractions, master your appetites. 90 days of such discipline will ingrain habits that protect you for life. Say aloud, I am master of myself. My thoughts obey me, my words obey me, my habits obey me. I do not drift with appetite. I command myself with discipline. I am loyal to my own decisions. Repeat this until your subconscious accepts it, for self-discipline must be identity, not theory. The penalty of neglecting this law is slavery. The man without discipline becomes a servant to others, a victim of appetite, a toy of chance. His life is wasted in impulses that bring no return. He spends decades trying to repair what discipline could have prevented. He is pitied by his friends, disrespected by his enemies, and condemned by his own conscience. But the man of discipline commands respect. Others trust him because he has proven he can govern himself. Employers promote him, partners ally with him, families depend upon him. His name carries weight because his character is solid. He does not excuse, he controls. He does not drift, he directs. 90 days of self-discipline set him upon a path of mastery. Therefore, let this be your vow. I am the master of myself. I deny drift. I command thought. I control appetite. I discipline time. 90 days of discipline ingrain the habits that guarantee my destiny. Practice this law daily, and you will save 10 years of wasted indulgence, 20 years of regret, 30 years of wandering. You will become a man others follow, respect, and trust, because you can be trusted with yourself. Law 8. Persistence. Persistence is the glue that binds every law of success together. Without persistence, desire dies, faith withers, initiative collapses, imagination fades, enthusiasm cools, and discipline loosens. But with persistence, even the smallest effort grows mighty. Persistence is proof of belief. Persistence is the visible evidence that a man has burned the bridge behind him and will never retreat. 90 days of unbroken persistence can alter the entire course of a life and save decades of wandering in circles. R.U. Darby's story is the clearest illustration of persistence's necessity. His uncle dug for gold, stopped 3 feet short, and sold the mine to a junkman. That junkman persisted, hired an expert, dug 3 feet further, and struck a fortune. Darby learned his lesson. Later, when he entered the insurance business, he was rejected thousands of times, yet he persisted. Each no strengthened his determination. His persistence carried him until he became one of the greatest insurance salesmen of his generation. 90 days of rejection could not defeat him, because persistence was his creed. Henry Ford persisted through ridicule, bankruptcy, and failure. His first cars broke down. Investors abandoned him. Critics mocked him as a dreamer. Yet Ford refused to quit. He persisted in refining his models, persisted in searching for better designs, persisted in pursuing his definite aim. In time, the world bowed to his persistence. Had he given up in those first 90 days of failure, his name would have been forgotten. Because he persisted, his name is immortal. Thomas Edison is perhaps the greatest monument to persistence. Thousands of failed experiments did not discourage him. When asked how he endured so much failure, he replied, "I have not failed. I've found thousands of ways that will not work." His persistence made light possible, and beyond light it proved to the world that defeat is never permanent unless a man accepts it. 90 days of failures could not stop him. 90 years could not stop him. His persistence outlived every obstacle. Charles Schwab rose in the steel industry not because he was the most skilled at the beginning, but because he refused to be discouraged. He persisted in every task, persisted in optimism, persisted in exceeding expectations. That persistence caught Carnegie's attention and propelled him upward. His success was not sudden, it was the compounded interest of persistence. Persistence is not dramatic. It is often quiet, unseen, unpraised. It is simply the daily refusal to quit. It is the habit of rising again when knocked down. It is the spirit that says, I will continue today, tomorrow, and the day after until victory is mine. Most men fail not because they lack talent, but because they surrendered too soon. They gave up when persistence would have carried them through. The penalty of quitting is decades of regret. The man who abandons his aim because of temporary defeat condemns himself to mediocrity. He tells himself he will try again later, but later never comes. Each surrender builds the habit of quitting, and that habit destroys his character. By the time he reaches old age, he looks back upon a lifetime of abandoned hopes and realizes he wasted his greatest treasure, time. The reward of persistence is destiny. Life cannot deny the man who refuses to stop. Obstacles wear down before him, critics fall silent, fortune bends, opportunity yields. His name is respected, his family proud, his enemies silent. He compresses decades into years because persistence multiplies effort until it becomes irresistible. For the next 90 days, persistence must be your law. Each day, act toward your definite aim, no matter how small the step. Each evening, review your persistence. Ask, did I persist today or did I yield? Write the truth. Do not excuse yourself. If you persisted, you grow stronger. If you yielded, correct it tomorrow. 90 evenings of this practice ingrain persistence until it is part of your very soul. Say aloud, I persist without excuse. I continue without retreat. Each day adds weight to my purpose. No defeat can stop me. No critic can silence me. No failure can break me. My persistence shortens years into days. Repeat this until your subconscious obeys. 90 days of this affirmation, coupled with daily action, will ingrain persistence so deeply that quitting becomes impossible. Edison's assistants, after thousands of failures, wanted to give up. Edison's persistence carried them. Your persistence will carry others too. When men see that you cannot be shaken, they will rally to you. Employers will trust you. Partners will ally with you. Family will lean upon you. Even enemies will respect you. Persistence earns loyalty because it proves character. Do not believe that persistence requires heroic acts. It requires daily acts. One more phone call when weary. One more plan written when discouraged. One more attempt when rejected. One more hour of work when tempted to rest. Each small persistence builds a chain. 90 days of such small chains build a fortress no obstacle can breach. Abraham Lincoln was defeated in elections, failed in business, suffered loss after loss. Yet he persisted. He refused to surrender to despair. His persistence carried him to the presidency, and through that persistence, he preserved the Union. His greatness was not in his talent alone, but in his refusal to abandon his aim. Remember this. Every defeat contains the seed of an equal or greater benefit, but only persistence unlocks it. The man who quits before searching for the seed loses the treasure. The man who persists digs until he finds it. 90 days of persistence will turn defeats into victories, losses into lessons, failures into foundations. Therefore, let this be your vow. I persist. I continue. I endure. I will not quit. I will not retreat. I will not excuse. My persistence will save me 10 years of wandering, 20 years of regret, 30 years of mediocrity. My persistence will make me a master of destiny. Speak this daily, live it daily, and you will awaken on the 91st day transformed. Persistence is the law that redeems time. It is the law that proves character. It is the law that makes every other law effective. Without it, the other laws collapse. With it, the other laws are amplified. 90 days of persistence is not merely a trial. It is the birth of a new man, a man who cannot be broken, a man who will not be denied. Law 9, the mastermind. No man ever achieved enduring success alone. Every fortune, every invention, every empire, every triumph I have studied was born of minds working in harmony. A single brain is limited, but when two or more blend their thoughts in a spirit of cooperation, a new mind is created, the mastermind. It is greater than the sum of its parts. It draws upon infinite intelligence and multiplies power beyond measure. 90 days of purposeful alliance can accomplish what 30 years of solitary struggle cannot. Andrew Carnegie admitted openly that he owed his fortune not to himself alone, but to the group of men he gathered. He surrounded himself with thinkers, doers, organizers, and dreamers. He united them under one definite aim and harmonized their efforts. That alliance multiplied his power until he stood as one of the richest men alive. His secret was simple. He borrowed brains. One man's knowledge is finite, but a mastermind is infinite. Charles Schwab rose because of his harmony with Carnegie. He brought energy, optimism, and leadership, and by aligning with Carnegie's vision, he multiplied his own opportunities. Their mastermind built mills, created steel empires, and condensed decades of progress into a few years. Alone, neither could have accomplished it. Together, they became unstoppable. Henry Ford, though a man of vision, was not ashamed to lean upon others. He drew counsel from Edison. He listened to men of talent. He created teams that refined his ideas. His genius was not isolation, but cooperation. By blending minds, he built an automobile industry in a fraction of the time it would have taken alone. His mastermind made his vision inevitable. Thomas Edison himself was surrounded by assistants, inventors, and workers who contributed ideas. Though the world remembers his name, his success was the fruit of collective intelligence. His mastermind, harmonized by his leadership, produced more inventions than any man alone could have conceived. His laboratory was not merely a place of work, it was a living mastermind. Abraham Lincoln led a cabinet of rivals, men who opposed him, men who criticized him. Yet through his wisdom, he harmonized them toward a greater aim, the preservation of the Union. His ability to unite diverse minds into cooperation gave him strength no single man could have held. The mastermind principle, though unspoken, guided his leadership. The law is simple. Harmony multiplies, discord destroys. A team in harmony can achieve in 90 days what decades of solitary labor cannot. A team in discord can waste decades with nothing to show. This is why you must be deliberate in choosing those with whom you align. For the next 90 days, seek at least one ally who shares your definite aim. It may be a partner, a friend, a spouse, a mentor. Share your aim with them. Meet regularly, encourage one another, and blend your minds in harmony. One true mastermind alliance is worth more than years of isolated effort. Even one companion aligned with your purpose multiplies your power. Say aloud, I attract allies of my destiny. I align with minds that strengthen mine. My mastermind multiplies my power and shortens years into days. Repeat until you believe it. Belief attracts. When your subconscious expects allies, it draws them to you. This is not accident, it is law. The penalty of neglecting this law is isolation. The man who insists on working alone, who refuses counsel, who fears sharing his aim, condemns himself to weakness. He wastes decades learning lessons he could have gained in months through others. He exhausts himself on tasks that another man could have done better. His pride enslaves him. By the time he learns the value of cooperation, his years are gone. But the man who honors this law advances swiftly. He sees farther with many eyes. He acts stronger with many hands. He thinks greater with many minds. He saves 10, 20, 30 years by borrowing knowledge, by multiplying effort, by aligning energy. The mastermind is not mere assistance. It is multiplication. Do not believe you must find many. Even one is sufficient to begin. Two minds in harmony create a third invisible mind, greater than either alone. Add more, and the power compounds. But without harmony, numbers mean nothing. A team in discord is weaker than a single man. Seek quality, not quantity. Therefore, let this be your vow. I will not walk alone. I will form harmony with those aligned to my purpose. I will multiply my mind through alliance. I will attract, unite, and advance. My mastermind will save me decades of effort and carry me to victory. 90 days of such practice will ingrain cooperation into your nature, and from then forward, you will never again be alone in your struggle. Remember always, a fortress may be built by one man brick by brick, but in his lifetime, it may never rise. A fortress built by many, harmonized in purpose, stands in a season. Such is the difference between solitary effort and the mastermind. 90 days of alliance can build what 30 years alone cannot. This is the power placed within your hands. Use it. Law 10, controlled attention. Attention is the currency of life. It is the lens through which power is magnified, the channel through which desire becomes action, the instrument by which imagination, faith, and persistence are directed toward a definite chief aim. The man who scatters his attention wastes decades. The man who controls his attention saves decades, for 90 days of concentrated focus are worth more than 30 years of scattered effort. Most men live with their attention in pieces. They wake without aim, drift into tasks chosen by others, scatter their thoughts on 100 trivialities, and end the day weary but unaccomplished. They repeat this for years until life passes them by. This is the penalty of uncontrolled attention, exhaustion without progress, effort without reward, years consumed with nothing to show. Thomas Edison's genius was not in talent alone, but in controlled attention. He focused on light as though nothing else in the world existed. His laboratory overflowed with distractions, yet his attention was riveted to the one problem before him. Day after day, failure after failure, he returned to the same aim with relentless focus. This concentration shortened centuries of darkness into a single season of triumph. John D. Rockefeller likewise mastered controlled attention. While others rushed to every opportunity, Rockefeller fixed his gaze on oil. He disciplined his thoughts, his investments, his entire life upon that one resource. His controlled attention turned instability into empire. Had he scattered his focus across dozens of ventures, his name would be forgotten. By controlling his attention, he compressed decades of confusion into a few years of mastery. Henry Ford fixed his mind upon the automobile for the common man. He refused to let distraction pull him into luxury models or side ventures. He concentrated on one aim until he had mastered it. That concentration multiplied his wealth and influence. His attention was a laser that cut through obstacles, ridicule, and failure. His 90 days of focus accomplished what decades of drifting could not. Controlled attention is not only the hallmark of inventors and businessmen, it is the law of all achievement. Abraham Lincoln, in the storm of war, controlled his mind upon the preservation of the Union. Every decision, every speech, every act was weighed against this one aim. Critics pulled him, enemies opposed him, allies doubted him, but Lincoln's controlled attention never wavered. That focus saved a nation. Attention is life's greatest treasure. What you attend to grows. What you neglect withers. The man who spends 90 days focused on a definite aim will advance farther than the man who spends 90 years pulled by every distraction. This is why I say, control your attention and you control your destiny. For the next 90 days, you must discipline your attention through daily practice. Each morning, after speaking your definite chief aim, write 3 actions that advance it. Not 10, not 20, 3. Then direct your attention to those 3 with all the force of your being. Do not scatter, do not drift. Complete them before allowing yourself to wander. This exercise will ingrain the habit of focus until it becomes second nature. Say aloud, I control my attention. My attention magnifies my power. My focus compresses time into victory. Repeat until your subconscious obeys. 90 days of this affirmation, lived through action, will transform your attention into a force of nature. Beware the thieves of attention. Gossip, idle talk, trivial pursuits, petty quarrels. Each steals a portion of your life. Each day surrendered to distraction is a day stolen from your destiny. 10 years of small distractions equal 10 years of wasted life. 90 days of guarded attention equal 10 years of advancement. Controlled attention is also the key to mastery of self. The undisciplined man allows fear, worry, or anger to consume his mind. His attention is stolen by emotions, and his days are wasted in turmoil. The disciplined man directs his attention to purpose, refusing to dwell on fear or regret. 90 days of directing thought toward definite aims will free you from mental slavery. Consider again Edison. Failure after failure could have consumed his attention with despair. But he refused. He fixed his mind not on what failed, but on what remained possible. This is controlled attention. It is not merely focus upon work. It is focus upon hope, purpose, and solution. Without it, persistence would collapse. With it, persistence becomes natural. Controlled attention is the law of all growth. The seed grows where attention is directed. The muscles strengthen where attention is trained. The fortune grows where attention is invested. The respect of others grows where attention is given. Neglect any of these, and they weaken. Attend to them, and they flourish. Life itself bows to controlled attention. For 90 days, I command you, deny distractions, reject drift, guard your focus as treasure, write your aim, act upon it, record your progress. Each day of focus compounds. By the 91st day, you will not merely have advanced, you will have built the identity of a man whose attention is unshakable. That identity will serve you for life. Say it once more. I control my attention. I direct it only to my chief aim. I do not drift. I do not scatter. I do not waste. My attention shortens decades into days. My attention makes me master of my destiny. Speak it until you believe it. Live it until others believe it too. For the world respects the man whose eyes do not wander, whose mind does not drift, whose purpose cannot be broken. This law alone can save you 30 years of mediocrity. Men waste their lives on trivialities. You will save yours by focus. You will advance where others drift. You will triumph where others fail. Controlled attention is the great divider of men, and by mastering it, you place yourself forever among the masters. Law 11, accurate thinking. Accurate thinking is the foundation of all enduring achievement. Without it, desire becomes delusion, imagination turns to fantasy, faith decays into superstition, and persistence hardens into stubbornness chasing false aims. Accurate thinking is the compass of the mind. It points true north when emotion would mislead, when rumor would confuse, when prejudice would blind. 90 days of training your mind to think accurately can save you 30 years of wasted labor spent chasing illusions. The majority of men never learn to think accurately. They confuse opinions with facts. They allow gossip to sway them. They mistake tradition for truth, and they accept the judgments of others without examination. Such men waste their energy building castles upon sand. By the time they discover the sand cannot bear the weight, decades are lost. The penalty of inaccurate thinking is lifelong failure. The reward of accurate thinking is mastery over circumstance. John D. Rockefeller built his empire not by speculation, but by accurate thinking. He studied facts with cold precision, ignored rumor, dismissed excitement, and demanded proof. When others were swept up in frenzies of fear or greed, he kept his mind upon reality. This habit allowed him to act when others hesitated, to withdraw when others plunged blindly, to advance when the facts supported him. His fortune was not accident. It was the product of accurate thinking. Abraham Lincoln was a man of accurate thought. He was deliberate, careful, and precise in judgment. When advisers pressed him, he listened, but he weighed their words against truth. He did not allow emotion or prejudice to rule him. He sought facts, studied them deeply, and then acted with certainty. His accurate thinking allowed him to preserve a nation in chaos. Without it, passion would have destroyed him and the union with him. Accurate thinking begins with the ability to separate facts from mere information. Facts are realities proven by evidence. Information is often opinion, gossip, hearsay, or distortion. The man of accurate thought does not accept all he hears. He asks, is this fact or opinion? If fact, what is the source? If opinion, what is the motive? 90 days of asking these questions daily will ingrain accuracy into your thought. Most failures come not from lack of effort, but from inaccurate assumptions. A man invests because he heard an opportunity was good. He marries because he feels without examining character. He chooses a profession because others approve. He lives by rumor instead of truth. Years later, he discovers his error, but the years cannot be returned. Accurate thinking from the beginning would have saved him decades of regret. Thomas Edison demanded accurate facts from his assistants. He would test and retest results, refusing to rely upon guesswork. His thousands of experiments were not blind fumblings, but accurate trials built upon observed facts. His mind separated what worked from what did not. This accuracy allowed him to advance steadily while others floundered. 90 days of adopting his habit of testing, proving, and confirming can transform your results permanently. Andrew Carnegie demanded accurate reports from his men. He would not accept inflated figures, excuses, or vague claims. He wanted precise knowledge of costs, production, and progress. That insistence upon accuracy protected him from ruin. Others trusted guesses. Carnegie trusted facts. His wealth was preserved because his mind was trained to think accurately. Accurate thinking also means freeing yourself from prejudice. Prejudice is inaccurate thinking made permanent. It blinds men to truth, poisons judgment, and leads to foolish action. The man of prejudice wastes years rejecting opportunities because they do not look as he expected. He loses allies because of false assumptions. He wastes decades bound to false beliefs. The man of accurate thinking sees clearly without bias and thus advances swiftly. For the next 90 days, train your mind each day in accurate thought. Each time you hear a claim, ask, is it fact or opinion? Each time you feel a strong emotion, ask, does it reflect truth or is it distortion? Each time you are urged to act, ask, what evidence supports this? Write down your conclusions each evening. 90 days of this practice will ingrain accuracy as instinct. Say aloud, I think accurately. I separate fact from opinion, truth from rumor, reality from illusion. My mind obeys accuracy, and accuracy saves me years of wasted labor. Repeat until your subconscious accepts it. When your subconscious believes it, you will begin to reject falsehoods automatically and pursue only truth. Beware the poison of gossip. Gossip is the enemy of accurate thought. It whispers lies, sows confusion, and wastes years. The man who lives by gossip drifts from one opinion to another, never building anything solid. The man of accuracy dismisses gossip, seeks facts, and keeps his mind clear. 90 days of rejecting gossip will save you 30 years of wasted mistakes. Consider again Rockefeller. During panics, rumors swept the market. Men sold everything in fear. Rockefeller, calmly examining facts, often bought while others sold. His accurate thinking turned their panic into his profit. This is the power of accuracy. It transforms chaos into opportunity. Accurate thinking also demands humility. You must be willing to admit when you are wrong. The inaccurate thinker clings to error, wasting decades defending a false belief. The accurate thinker corrects quickly, saving time, effort, and reputation. 90 days of practicing correction without pride will ingrain a habit that saves you years. The man of accurate thought is respected. Others know his words can be trusted, his judgment relied upon, his decisions sound. Employers promote him, partners seek him, friends trust him. His name carries weight. By contrast, the man of inaccurate thought is dismissed, ignored, and forgotten. His words are worthless because they are untrue. His life is wasted because it is built upon error. So I command you, discipline your mind to accuracy. For 90 days, separate fact from opinion. Seek truth, reject rumor, test every assumption. Speak only when you have evidence. Decide only when facts are clear. This practice will ingrain accuracy into your very character. You will save decades by refusing error at the beginning instead of correcting it at the end. Say it once more. I think accurately. I demand facts. I reject rumor. I separate truth from illusion. My mind is clear, my judgment precise, my destiny certain. 90 days of this affirmation, lived in daily practice, will transform you from a drifting dreamer into a master of thought. Remember, inaccurate thinking is the great thief of time. Accurate thinking is the great redeemer of time. By mastering it, you will save not only hours and days, but years and decades. This is the law tested by every man of greatness and now placed in your hands. Law 12, concentration of effort. Concentration of effort is the law that multiplies strength, shortens time, and saves decades of wasted struggle. A man may be intelligent, ambitious, and even hard-working, yet if his energy is scattered across a dozen pursuits, he will achieve nothing of lasting value. The world does not reward the man who dabbles. It crowns the man who concentrates. One chief aim, one definite pursuit, one consuming purpose, attacked with all the power of thought and action, can accomplish in 90 days what scattered effort cannot achieve in 30 years. The penalty of scattering effort is everywhere visible. Men begin one project, abandon it, then chase another. They divide their time between aimless pursuits, endless distractions, and half-hearted tasks. At the end of a year, they are no farther than when they began. At the end of a decade, they are still drifting. They deceive themselves with busyness, but busyness is not progress. Only concentrated effort produces results. Andrew Carnegie was a master of concentration. He fixed his energy upon steel and refused to be diverted. Opportunities in coal, oil, real estate, and speculation presented themselves, but he declined them all if they interfered with steel. Because his effort was concentrated, he compressed decades of wandering into a single decade of triumph. His fortune was not the fruit of chance, but the harvest of concentration. Henry Ford likewise concentrated his effort upon the automobile. He resisted the temptation to pursue luxury models or scattered enterprises. He focused his energy upon producing one car for the common man. That concentration turned failure into triumph and ridicule into respect. Had he scattered his efforts across many ventures, his name would be forgotten. By concentrating, he engraved his name upon history. Thomas Edison, though a man of vast imagination, practiced concentration in his laboratory. When he attacked a problem, he pursued it relentlessly, shutting out all else until the solution appeared. His controlled focus made invention inevitable. He did not waste his nights in diversion. He poured them into experiments. That concentration allowed him to produce more breakthroughs in a lifetime than most men produce in centuries. Abraham Lincoln, in his leadership, concentrated upon one aim, the preservation of the Union. Critics pulled him in every direction. Some demanded compromise, others urged extremes. Yet Lincoln's focus did not waver. He weighed every decision against one measure. Will this preserve the Union? His concentration gave him clarity in chaos and the strength to endure storms. That one purpose made him one of history's giants. The law is clear. Scatter your energy, and you waste decades. Concentrate your energy, and you save them. 90 days of focused effort upon a definite chief aim are worth more than 30 years of drifting from one pursuit to another. This is why concentration of effort must become your habit. For the next 90 days, choose one definite aim and concentrate upon it with all the power of your being. Refuse to divide your attention. Refuse to scatter your time. Each morning, write your aim. Each afternoon, act upon it. Each evening, review your progress. If new opportunities arise, ask, do they advance my chief aim or do they distract? If they distract, cast them aside. 90 days of this discipline will ingrain concentration into your very nature. Say aloud, I direct all my power to one purpose. My effort is not scattered. It is concentrated. I bend my mind, my body, my time, my energy upon my chief aim until it is achieved. My focus multiplies my strength and shortens the years into days. Repeat until it becomes your identity. The temptation to scatter effort is great. Men are seduced by novelty, by the appearance of opportunity, by the fear of missing out. But novelty is a thief. Opportunity without harmony is a trap. And fear of missing out is fear of drift. Resist them. Concentration is the mark of greatness. It is the law by which empires are built, fortunes secured, inventions realized, and nations preserved. Charles Schwab, though surrounded by countless opportunities, concentrated upon steel. His optimism, energy, and leadership were poured into one channel. That concentration earned Carnegie's trust and multiplied Schwab's influence until he commanded thousands. His success was not in scattering himself thin, but in directing his whole force into one line. Contrast him with the man who divides himself among many ventures. He starts one, grows weary, shifts to another, abandons that too, and repeats the cycle for years. His life is a chain of half-built bridges that reach no shore. His name is unknown, his wealth small, his influence negligible. He is the warning to all who would scatter effort. The principle of concentration can be applied not only to business, but to thought. Train your mind to dwell upon your aim. Refuse to give thought to trivial matters. When fear or worry intrudes, direct your attention back to purpose. 90 days of such mental concentration will ingrain definiteness and banish drift. Controlled attention and concentration of effort are brothers. Attention focuses the mind, concentration directs the action. Together, they shorten decades into months. They transform a man from a drifter into a master. 90 days of these practices will do for you what 30 years of wandering could never accomplish. Even in daily tasks, apply this law. Do one thing at a time with all your strength until complete. Do not divide yourself. Concentrated effort, repeated daily, compounds. Within 90 days, you will have advanced farther than others advance in years. Remember, too, that infinite intelligence aids the concentrated mind. When your whole being is fixed upon one aim, unseen forces seem to cooperate. Opportunities appear, allies arrive, doors open. The world yields to the man who knows what he wants and pursues it with concentrated effort. Say it again. I direct all my power to one purpose. I do not scatter. I do not drift. I concentrate. My focus multiplies my strength. My concentration shortens decades into days. Speak it until you feel its truth burning in your chest. 90 days of this affirmation, coupled with disciplined action, will ingrain concentration into your soul. This law alone can save you 30 years of wasted energy. Men waste lifetimes because they chase too many rabbits. The man who concentrates catches one, and one is enough to make him great. Concentration is the master key of efficiency, and efficiency is the path to mastery. Therefore, I command you, choose one aim, one road, one purpose. Pour yourself into it until it bends to your will. Let no distraction pull you away. 90 days of concentration will redeem wasted years, transform drifting into destiny, and ingrain in you the habit that guarantees success. Law 13, cooperation and tolerance. No man may succeed alone. He must live, labor, and advance among men. He must win allies, earn trust, inspire loyalty, and learn to harmonize his effort with others. The law of cooperation demands that you move with men, not against them. The law of tolerance demands that you control your prejudices, silence your pride, and open your mind to truth. Without these laws, empires fall, friendships break, and decades of progress are wasted in conflict. But with them, 90 days of deliberate harmony can save 30 years of wasted strife. History itself provides the sternest warnings. Napoleon Bonaparte was a master of initiative, imagination, concentration, and persistence. He rose higher than almost any man of his century, yet he lacked tolerance. His pride refused to harmonize with others. His arrogance scorned cooperation. He offended allies, multiplied enemies, and finally fell in disgrace. His name endures not as a symbol of triumph, but as a warning. No man, however brilliant, survives long without cooperation and tolerance. Contrast him with Abraham Lincoln. Surrounded by rivals and critics, he built his cabinet with men who opposed him. Instead of silencing them, he listened. Instead of scorning, he harmonized. His tolerance allowed him to turn enemies into allies. His cooperation built unity where division threatened to tear a nation apart. That harmony preserved the Union. Without it, his genius would have been wasted. With it, his name endures in honor. Andrew Carnegie understood this law well. He built his fortune by gathering talented men, many of them more skilled than himself. He treated them not as servants, but as partners. He practiced tolerance, listened to their counsel, cooperated with their efforts. The result was harmony so strong that his enterprises flourished. Without cooperation, his wealth would have been impossible. With it, he multiplied his influence 100-fold. Henry Ford, though decisive, learned that harmony with his workers was essential. He raised wages, shortened hours, improved conditions. Though criticized at first, this cooperation won him loyalty and productivity that competitors envied. By harmonizing with men, he built not only cars, but a movement. His tolerance for the common man transformed labor into power. Thomas Edison led teams of assistants, each bringing knowledge he did not possess. His laboratory was a symphony of minds united under his vision. His tolerance of new ideas, his willingness to accept suggestions, multiplied his results. Without cooperation, his imagination would have remained unfulfilled. With it, his inventions changed the world. The lesson is clear. The man who insists on standing alone wastes decades. The man who quarrels, scorns, criticizes, and divides spends years repairing the damage his intolerance creates. The man who refuses cooperation fights battles on every side and dies exhausted. But the man of tolerance and cooperation advances swiftly, for he multiplies his effort through others. For the next 90 days, practice cooperation and tolerance as daily laws. Seek opportunities to harmonize with others, even when pride resists. Listen instead of arguing. Learn instead of judging. Offer assistance instead of withholding. Each day, practice one act of deliberate cooperation. Each day, catch one impulse of intolerance and replace it with patience. 90 days of such practice will ingrain harmony into your nature. Say aloud, I harmonize with others. I multiply my strength through cooperation. I silence pride. I reject prejudice. I practice tolerance. My cooperation shortens decades into days. Repeat until you believe it. When you believe it, others will feel it. Men are drawn to the tolerant, the cooperative, the harmonious. Opportunities arrive, allies gather, doors open. The penalty of intolerance is severe. The intolerant man isolates himself. He criticizes, offends, and drives others away. He spends decades in conflict, gaining nothing. His pride blinds him to truth. His prejudice poisons his mind. His arrogance wastes his years. He may achieve briefly, but he always falls, for no man can fight the world and win. His life becomes a warning, his name a curse. But the reward of cooperation and tolerance is greatness. The man of harmony multiplies his knowledge, resources, and influence. He advances not only himself, but those around him. His name is honored, his presence welcomed, his influence lasting. 90 days of cooperation can forge alliances that endure for decades. 90 days of tolerance can save you 30 years of wasted battles. Consider again Lincoln. His tolerance allowed him to endure insults, mockery, and opposition without bitterness. His cooperation with rivals built unity where division threatened ruin. That harmony preserved a nation. Without it, his genius would have been wasted. With it, his legacy became eternal. Consider Carnegie. His cooperation with his team, his tolerance of new ideas, multiplied his fortune. Without harmony, his empire would have collapsed in conflict. With it, he built one of the greatest fortunes in history. Consider Edison. His laboratory thrived because he accepted suggestions, encouraged cooperation, and practiced tolerance of failure. Without that harmony, his inventions would have remained unfinished. With it, he transformed the world. For 90 days, imitate these men. Refuse to quarrel. Refuse to criticize unjustly. Refuse to allow prejudice to rule your mind. Seek cooperation at home, at work, in every circle. Praise others, encourage them, support them, tolerate differences, accept criticism, harmonize efforts. 90 days of such practice will ingrain habits of harmony that will protect you for life. Say again, I harmonize, I cooperate, I tolerate, I multiply my power through alliance. I save decades by avoiding conflict. I build empires through cooperation. I preserve peace through tolerance. Speak it until your subconscious obeys. Live it until others feel it. This law is not weakness. Tolerance is not surrender. Cooperation is not servitude. They are the highest forms of strength. It takes greater power to harmonize than to quarrel, greater wisdom to tolerate than to condemn, greater courage to cooperate than to fight. Weak men fight everything. Strong men choose harmony. Therefore, I command you for the next 90 days, practice cooperation and tolerance until they become your nature. Unite with others in harmony. Accept differences with patience. Seek common aims with vigor. This law will save you 30 years of wasted conflict and place you forever among the masters. Law 14. Failure and adversity as teachers. No man desires failure. No man prays for adversity. Yet every man who has risen from obscurity to greatness has been shaped, refined, and elevated by defeat. Failure is not the end. It is the beginning of wisdom. Adversity is not the grave of dreams. It is the furnace that purifies them. To curse failure is to curse your greatest teacher. To embrace it is to shorten decades of wandering into seasons of transformation. The majority of men flee from failure. They treat defeat as final, adversity as cruelty, misfortune as injustice. Because they shrink, they never grow. They waste decades cursing circumstances instead of mining them for wisdom. They bury themselves in regret instead of digging for the seed of benefit hidden within each loss. They live broken lives, not because life was too hard, but because they refused to learn. Thomas Edison endured thousands of failures in his search for light. Each experiment might have been labeled defeat, but he refused to accept failure as final. He said, I have not failed. I found thousands of ways that will not work. Each so-called failure was tuition in the school of success. His persistence, coupled with his willingness to learn from adversity, compressed centuries of ignorance into decades of advancement. His failures were his greatest teachers. R.U. Darby learned the hard way that failure is a disguised lesson. His uncle quit digging for gold 3 feet from the richest vein. That failure might have destroyed him. But instead, he studied it, and he learned persistence. In insurance, when doors slammed in his face, he remembered the gold. He persisted. He endured rejection, and he became one of the most successful men of his field. His fortune was the fruit of failure because he allowed failure to teach him. Abraham Lincoln is a monument to adversity. He failed in business. He was defeated in elections. He suffered loss after loss, yet he refused to surrender. Each defeat carved humility, patience and endurance into his character. Each adversity prepared him for the greater trials to come. By the time he reached the presidency, he was no stranger to hardship. His failures had trained him. Without them, he could not have borne the weight of preserving the Union. Henry Ford faced bankruptcy before success. His early ventures collapsed. His ideas were ridiculed. But instead of surrendering, he learned. His failures taught him what to discard, what to improve, what to persist in. He used adversity as a mirror, and that mirror showed him how to refine his aim. Without those failures, the Model T would never have been born. Andrew Carnegie, too, knew adversity. He began as a poor immigrant boy. He suffered poverty, ridicule, and doubt. But adversity toughened him. It forged discipline, sharpened ambition, and hardened persistence. He turned adversity into strength, and strength into empire. The very hardships that might have crushed him became the foundation of his greatness. The truth is this: each failure carries within it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Each adversity contains a lesson that, if grasped, saves decades of wandering. 90 days of adversity, studied and mined for wisdom, can be worth more than 30 years of easy comfort. Comfort teaches nothing. Adversity teaches everything. But most men squander adversity. They complain instead of reflecting. They despair instead of analyzing. They surrender instead of persisting. They waste the seed of benefit by throwing it away. They lengthen their journey by decades because they refuse to learn the lesson that adversity offers freely. For the next 90 days, I command you, treat every setback as a teacher. Each time you meet defeat, ask, what is the seed of benefit here? What can I learn? How can I use this to advance? Write your answers each evening. 90 days of this practice will ingrain a habit of extracting wisdom from adversity. This habit will protect you for life. Say aloud, I welcome adversity. I welcome failure. They are my teachers. They carry the seed of benefit. Each defeat is temporary. Each loss is a lesson. Each hardship is my servant. I mine wisdom from adversity, and wisdom shortens decades into days. Repeat until your subconscious believes it. When you believe it, adversity ceases to frighten you, and failure ceases to stop you. Remember, defeat is never permanent unless you accept it. The man who quits makes failure final. The man who persists makes failure temporary. The difference is not in circumstances, but in choice. 90 days of refusing to accept defeat will ingrain the truth that failure is nothing but delayed success. Edison's thousands of failed experiments were not wasted. They built a body of knowledge that led directly to success. Lincoln's repeated defeats did not destroy him. They prepared him for leadership. Ford's bankruptcies were not the end. They were the lessons that sharpened his focus. Carnegie's poverty was not a curse. It was the furnace that forged his ambition. Consider also Charles Schwab. His rise was not without setbacks. He endured criticism, opposition, and trials, but he refused to allow adversity to make him bitter. Instead, he turned it into fuel. He learned diplomacy, patience, optimism. That attitude allowed him to inspire thousands and lead enterprises greater than himself. His adversities became his training ground. The man who flees from failure wastes his life. The man who embraces failure compresses his progress. 90 days of adversity faced with courage can give you the wisdom others spend 30 years avoiding. This is the law of adversity. It teaches swiftly what ease delays. Therefore, let this be your vow. I embrace adversity. I welcome failure. I study defeat. I find the seed of benefit in every loss. I do not curse misfortune. I command it to serve me. My failures are temporary, my lessons eternal, my destiny unstoppable. Speak it until your subconscious obeys. Never forget, adversity introduces a man to himself. It shows whether he is master or slave. It reveals his faith, his persistence, his courage. The man who fears adversity proves himself weak. The man who welcomes adversity proves himself strong. 90 days of welcoming adversity will ingrain strength that will carry you for life. Do not seek comfort. Comfort weakens, adversity strengthens. Comfort lulls men into decades of drift. Adversity awakens them to greatness. 90 days of hardship can redeem 30 years of softness. Embrace it, use it, and it will serve you as your greatest ally. So I command you, mind your failures, study your defeats, welcome your hardships. They are your teachers. They shorten decades into days. They transform dreamers into doers, wanderers into masters, drifters into leaders. This law obeyed will save you 30 years of wasted lamentation and deliver you swiftly into mastery. Law 15, service and going the extra mile. The man who gives only what he is paid for, the man who performs only the minimum required, the man who measures out his effort as though it were poison, condemns himself to a life of mediocrity. Nature does not reward the man who does only enough to survive. She richly rewards the man who renders more than he is paid for. Going the extra mile is the law by which fortunes are built, respect is earned, friendships are secured, and opportunity is multiplied. 90 days of practicing this law will save 30 years of disappointment, for in those 90 days you will establish a reputation that will carry you for life. Most men live as though service were loss. They fear being used, fear being taken advantage of, fear giving more than they receive. Because of this fear, they hold back. They do the least required. They ration out their energy. And what is the result? They remain overlooked, underpaid, unrespected, unremembered. They complain that life is unfair, when in truth they have violated nature's law. The man who gives grudgingly receives grudgingly. The man who gives generously receives abundantly. Charles M. Schwab was a living example of this law. As a young worker under Carnegie, he went far beyond his duties. He performed not only what was required, but also what was helpful, inspiring, and uplifting. His enthusiasm overflowed into acts of service that no one asked him to render. Carnegie noticed. That extra mile, walked daily, lifted Schwab from obscurity to the presidency of United States Steel. Had he done only what was required, his name would have vanished. By going the extra mile, his name endures. Henry Ford, too, practiced this law. He did not stop at building a working car. He strove to improve it, simplify it, reduce its cost, and make it accessible to the common man. He went far beyond what buyers expected. That extra service earned him a fortune and the loyalty of millions. He could have settled for enough instead. He chose more. That choice condensed decades of gradual progress into a few short years of revolution. Andrew Carnegie practiced the extra mile not only in business but in philanthropy. He built libraries, schools, and foundations. He gave more than was required of him. In return, his influence outlived his fortune. He is remembered not only for steel but for service. That service multiplied his reputation far beyond his wealth. 90 days of extra effort in service to others can ingrain habits that reward you for decades. Thomas Edison demanded of himself and his teams more than the minimum. He worked nights, sacrificed comfort, endured long hours, all to render inventions that advanced humanity. His extra mile gave the world light, sound, and countless blessings. Without that extra service, his name would not be honored. With it, his name stands among the immortals. The law of going the extra mile carries a hidden secret. When you give more than expected, you awaken powers within yourself. You strengthen persistence, enlarge imagination, sharpen discipline, and multiply faith. Each act of extra service adds weight to your character. Each act makes you indispensable. Employers promote the man who cannot be replaced, and the man who goes the extra mile cannot be replaced because he gives what no one else will. For the next 90 days, I command you, each day, render one service beyond what is required. If asked to complete a task, do more. If expected to provide effort, exceed it. If a friend needs help, give double. Do not announce it. Do not boast of it. Do not demand immediate reward. Simply give. 90 days of this practice will ingrain the habit of service until it becomes your identity. Say aloud, I give more than expected. I serve beyond what is required. My extra mile multiplies my opportunity. My service shortens decades into days. I give more, and life returns more. Repeat until your subconscious accepts it. When you believe it, you will act on it instinctively, and men will recognize you as indispensable. The penalty of ignoring this law is harsh. The man who does only what he must remains forever where he is. He waits for promotion but is passed over. He demands higher pay but has earned no more. He complains of injustice but has sown only mediocrity. His decades are wasted in bitterness, for he never understood that nature pays only after service is rendered. But the man who obeys this law advances rapidly. His reputation spreads. Employers trust him, partners seek him, friends honor him. Opportunities arrive unsought because men whisper, he gives more than he is asked. He can be trusted. His 90 days of extra service build a name that rewards him for decades. Abraham Lincoln practiced this law in spirit. He gave more patience, more tolerance, more kindness than his rivals deserved. He rendered service even to those who opposed him, seeking unity above division. His extra mile preserved peace where hatred threatened. His tolerance was service, and that service multiplied his influence. Edison gave more effort than men thought humanly possible. Ford gave more innovation than buyers requested. Carnegie gave more opportunity than workers expected. Schwab gave more energy than duties required. Rockefeller gave more organization than industry had seen. All of them practiced this law. All of them condensed decades of progress into a few short years. For the next 90 days, write each evening what extra service you rendered. Keep account not of pay received, but of service given. At the end of 90 days, you will see a record that proves this law. You will have built a habit that ensures your destiny. Say again, I give more than expected. I render more than required. I go the extra mile each day. My service ingrains habits that reward me for life. My extra mile shortens years into days. Speak it until your soul believes it. Live it until others feel it. 90 days of this practice will save you 30 years of wasted complaint, for it will ingrain in you the habit that ensures abundance. Remember, service is seed. The man who plants sparingly harvests sparingly. The man who plants generously reaps generously. Going the extra mile is planting in abundance. Your harvest may not come immediately, but it will come multiplied. Nature pays richly, but she pays only after service is rendered. 90 days of planting will yield decades of harvest. Therefore, I command you, embrace this law. Render more service than paid for, more kindness than expected, more effort than required. Do it without complaint, without pride, without hesitation. Do it daily for 90 days. You will ingrain habits that make you indispensable, respected, honored, rewarded. This law alone can save you 30 years of mediocrity and lift you into the ranks of the masters. Law 16, Self-Mastery and Cosmic Habit Force. All the laws of success converge into one supreme law, the law of self-mastery. Without mastery of self, every other law is weakened. With it, every law becomes a servant. Self-mastery is the final triumph, the crowning discipline, the condition that makes success inevitable. And once self-mastery has been ingrained, cosmic habit force, the great silent law of nature, takes hold, carrying you forward by momentum so strong that failure cannot touch you. Consider this truth. A man is ruled either by his appetites or by his will. If ruled by appetite, he drifts, wastes, regrets, and dies defeated. If ruled by will, he commands, builds, achieves, and dies triumphant. Self-mastery is nothing more and nothing less than the deliberate choice to let will command appetite, reason command impulse, discipline command desire. 90 days of self-mastery can ingrain habits so strong that they save you 30 years of wasted indulgence. Andrew Carnegie mastered himself before he mastered steel. He disciplined his time, his speech, his ambition, his indulgences. By commanding himself, he could command others. His fortune was not mere skill. It was the harvest of self-mastery. Without it, his wealth would have scattered. With it, he multiplied until his name stood among the greatest. John D. Rockefeller built discipline into every penny, every record, every act. He did not surrender to extravagance, anger, or impulse. His mastery of himself made him a master of his empire. The stability of his fortune reflected the stability of his character. 90 days of Rockefeller's self-control would save most men 30 years of ruin. Thomas Edison mastered fatigue. He mastered frustration. He mastered the temptation to quit. His laboratory was not ruled by accident, but by order. Though thousands of failures tempted him, his self-mastery forbade despair. He directed his mind where he willed, not where fear beckoned. Without self-mastery, his persistence would have collapsed. With it, his inventions changed the world. Abraham Lincoln mastered anger. He faced insult, ridicule, and betrayal, yet his discipline of speech prevented folly. He wrote letters in fury, then burned them instead of sending. He tempered judgment with patience. His self-mastery gave him strength to preserve the Union without being consumed by bitterness. His greatness was not only what he achieved, but what he restrained. Henry Ford mastered ridicule. Critics mocked his dream, investors abandoned him, failures multiplied. But he mastered his doubt. He refused to surrender to discouragement. He trained his mind to persist where others quit. His mastery of his own belief gave him power over the disbelief of others. That is the essence of self-mastery, to command yourself when the world demands your surrender. But self-mastery alone is not enough. It must become habit. A man may discipline himself for a season, but unless discipline becomes automatic, he will relapse. Here enters the greatest of nature's forces, cosmic habit force. This is the silent law that ingrains repeated action into permanent habit. Once a habit is formed, it carries a man forward with the strength of nature itself. 90 days of obedience to the laws of success ingrain habits that carry you for decades. Think of the drunkard. His habit of indulgence enslaves him, and cosmic habit force holds him in bondage. Think of the drifter. His habit of postponement enslaves him, and cosmic habit force chains him. Think of the coward. His habit of fear enslaves him, and cosmic habit force imprisons him. But think of the disciplined man. His habit of persistence frees him. Think of the decisive man. His habit of action elevates him. Think of the definite man. His habit of focus multiplies him. Cosmic habit force does not judge. It enforces. Whatever you ingrain, it magnifies. For the next 90 days, your task is not merely to practice the laws, it is to ingrain them until they become habits. Rise at the same hour, speak your definite aim, affirm your faith, act decisively, persist daily, guard your attention, render service, harmonize with others, repeat, repeat, repeat. By the 91st day, you will no longer be forcing yourself. Habit will carry you. Cosmic habit force will take over. Success will become automatic. Say aloud, I am master of myself. My thoughts obey me. My words obey me. My actions obey me. I ingrain habits of success. Cosmic habit force carries me. I do not drift. I advance. I do not falter. I persist. I am captain of my soul. Repeat until your subconscious accepts it. 90 days of such repetition ingrains identity. And once identity is set, destiny follows. The penalty of neglecting this law is slavery. The man without self-mastery is a servant to appetite, fear, prejudice, laziness, and circumstance. His habits betray him. His years are wasted. His dreams rot. He blames fate, but fate is not to blame. His lack of mastery is. The man without self-mastery cannot save himself. His life is 30 years of delay, 30 years of drift, 30 years of regret. But the reward of obeying this law is freedom. The man of self-mastery commands himself, and because he commands himself, he commands destiny. His habits push him forward even when he wearies. His discipline protects him even when tempted. His definiteness guides him even when confused. He saves decades of wandering because his habits refuse to let him drift. He becomes unstoppable, for nature herself pushes him. Consider Charles Schwab. His optimism and energy were not accidents, they were habits. He practiced them until they became part of his identity. Cosmic habit force magnified them, and the world felt his enthusiasm wherever he went. That habit carried him to leadership. Men may admire talent, but they follow habit. Every great man I studied obeyed this law. Carnegie, Rockefeller, Edison, Ford, Lincoln, Schwab, all engraved habits of discipline, decision, persistence, faith. They repeated until repetition became character, and character became destiny. 90 days of obedience made 90 years of greatness possible. So I command you now, ingrain success into your nature. Do not drift. Do not excuse. Do not falter. Master yourself. Repeat daily. Ingrain habit. At first, it will require effort. But soon, effort will be replaced by rhythm. Rhythm will be replaced by habit. Habit will be carried by cosmic habit force. And from that moment forward, you will not fight for success. Success will fight for you. Repeat once more, I have awakened. I am master of myself. I ingrain habits of success. Cosmic habit force carries me. I am captain of my fate, master of my destiny, ruler of my soul. Speak until you believe it. Live until others believe it. 90 days of self-mastery will save you 30 years of wasted drift and ingrain in you the law that guarantees victory. Final part. The end is the beginning. You have now walked through the 16 laws of success. You have learned that every dream, every fortune, every triumph begins within the mind of man. You have seen that desire is the starting point of all achievement, that faith transforms desire into reality, that decision and persistence build the bridge from thought to action, that imagination creates form, that discipline and concentration give power, that service, tolerance, and cooperation multiply your reach, and that self-mastery ingrains all of it into permanent character. But let me tell you a truth that only experience can confirm. You have not reached the end. You have reached the beginning. For knowledge, unacted upon, dies unborn. The laws you have just heard are not trophies to admire, but tools to wield. They are not lessons to finish. They are principles to live. The end of this message is the start of your new life. And if you obey it, these next 90 days will mark the rebirth of your destiny. Every man is born twice, once into the world and once into awareness of his own power. When you understand that you can direct thought, shape habit, command circumstance, and bend life to your will, you are born again, not of flesh, but of spirit. This moment, if you act upon it, is your second birth. Do not mistake understanding for mastery. A man can read the laws of flight, yet never leave the ground. You must practice these laws daily until repetition ingrains them into your bones. Repetition is the womb of mastery. No law, no principle, no philosophy bears fruit until it is planted again and again within the subconscious mind. Nature herself teaches this truth. The river cuts through rock not by force, but by repetition. The blacksmith's arm grows strong not by one swing of the hammer, but by thousands. The musician becomes master not by playing once, but by daily practice until the fingers no longer ask permission of thought. So too must you ingrain these laws by repetition until your habits move without command, until your mind obeys without hesitation, until your success becomes a reflex as natural as breath. The greatest mistake men make is to seek new instruction before they have mastered the old. They chase novelty instead of perfection. They wander from teacher to teacher, book to book, speech to speech, forgetting that one truth, applied thoroughly, outweighs 1,000 half-learned theories. Return, therefore, again and again to these laws. Each time you read or hear them, they will speak to you at a higher level, for you will have grown. Each repetition will reveal deeper meaning, hidden power, unseen strength. The same words will change because you will have changed. Do not let this message end with applause or agreement. Let it end with decision. Decide here and now to live these laws, to repeat them daily, to ingrain them through practice. Write them, speak them, reflect upon them, for the mind, like soil, yields only what is planted daily and tended faithfully. Consider Henry Ford. He read one idea again and again. Think you can or think you can't, you are right. He repeated it until it shaped his character. He repeated it until every obstacle became small before his conviction. That repetition made him what he became. Thomas Edison repeated his experiments until failure bowed before persistence. He repeated attempts so often that success could no longer refuse him. His repetition built a rhythm between mind and nature, and that rhythm produced miracles. Andrew Carnegie repeated daily his aim of becoming master of steel. He visualized it, affirmed it, acted upon it until his subconscious mind accepted no other reality. He did not practice for a week or a month. He lived the repetition for years until it became instinct. Abraham Lincoln repeated his moral conviction, union, liberty, unity, until it became the melody of his soul. His repetition made him unbreakable. The words he repeated became the laws he lived, and the laws he lived became the legacy he left. You, too, must repeat, for repetition is not drudgery, it is creation. Each repetition drives the nail deeper until your character becomes unshakable. The subconscious mind accepts repeated thought as truth. Once accepted, it acts. And once it acts, all forces of infinite intelligence respond. Think of the farmer. He does not plant once and walk away. He returns daily, waters daily, weeds daily. He repeats his care until the harvest comes. So must you. These 16 laws are your seeds. Each time you listen, each time you read, each time you affirm, you water them. 90 days of watering will bring harvest beyond imagination. Do not be deceived by the simplicity of these principles. Men fail not because the truth is hidden, but because it is plain. They look for mystery where only discipline is required. They drift in circles, searching for secrets already in their hands. The truth has been spoken. You must now obey it until obedience becomes habit. Let me tell you what repetition will do. If you repeat these laws daily for 90 days, you will begin to notice change, not only in your results, but in your identity. The same work will feel lighter, the same obstacles smaller, the same fears weaker. Faith will replace doubt. Purpose will replace confusion. You will begin to think with accuracy, act with decision, and move with power. If you repeat them for 1 year, you will stand unrecognizable before your former self. The man who doubted will be replaced by the man who knows. The man who drifted will be replaced by the man who directs. You will speak, and men will listen. You will act, and the world will respond. Your presence will carry force because your mind will radiate definiteness. If you repeat them for 10 years, you will command a destiny beyond imagination. You will live by habit, not by struggle. You will no longer chase success. Success will chase you, for cosmic habit force will have taken your obedience and turned it into nature's rhythm. From that moment forward, you will not need to remind yourself. Life itself will obey you. This, my friend, is the purpose of repetition, to ingrain law into character until it becomes nature. That is why I say the end of this lesson is the beginning of mastery. You have studied, but now you must become. You have listened, but now you must live. You have understood, but now you must repeat. Let this be your daily ritual. Each morning, before the world can distract you, speak your definite chief aim. Say it aloud. Visualize it. Feel it. Repeat your faith until you believe. At midday, take action upon it. Perform one task, however small, that advances it. Render one extra service, take one step forward, persist one more hour. At night, reflect upon it. Record what you have done. Express gratitude. Repeat your affirmations again and let them sink into the subconscious as you sleep. This simple daily repetition, practiced for 90 days, will ingrain new habits. Practice for 1 year, it will ingrain a new identity. Practice for 10 years, it will ingrain destiny. You need not repeat it perfectly. You need only repeat it faithfully. A weak repetition is better than none. A faltering step forward is still forward. Each repetition builds strength. Each act of discipline becomes easier. The man who repeats long enough becomes unstoppable, for habit itself carries him. Let me show you what happens when repetition rules a life. When Henry Ford rose each morning, he thought of his purpose. His mind repeated one image: a car for the common man. Every decision, every action, every day served that image. His repetition gave him clarity, and clarity gave him empire. When Edison faced failure, he repeated the same belief: every wrong attempt brings me closer to the right one. That repetition burned away despair. He persisted until the light appeared. When Rockefeller was ridiculed for thrift, he repeated order, discipline, accuracy. That repetition built an empire that endured long after his death. When Lincoln faced ridicule, he repeated, "The Union must stand." That repetition outlasted every insult, every defeat, every enemy. When Carnegie rose from poverty, he repeated, "I will master steel." That repetition carried him from rags to riches. Each of these men mastered repetition, and repetition made them masters. Now it is your turn. The law that carried them is the same law that will carry you. The principles do not age, they do not fail, they do not favor, they obey. But they only obey the man who repeats them until they become his second nature. Say now, and let your words ingrain themselves upon your heart: I have learned the laws of success. I have understood the principles of achievement. I will repeat them daily until they become me. I am the master of my fate, the captain of my soul. My habits serve me, my mind obeys me, my destiny is certain. I will return to this truth again and again until I have lived it completely. The end of this lesson is the beginning of your new life. Play it again, read it again, repeat it every day. Let it burn away weakness. Let it carve new strength. Let it become the voice that guides you when the world distracts you. Remember always, men do not fail because they cannot. They fail because they forget. Repetition keeps memory alive. Repetition ingrains faith. Repetition protects you from drift. Listen again tomorrow. Listen again next week. Listen until you no longer need to listen, because the voice has become your own. If you obey this, you will save not only 10 years, you will save a lifetime. The law of repetition is the law of mastery. It is the bridge from knowledge to power, from hearing to becoming, from beginning to immortality. So I say to you, this is not the end. It is the beginning. Begin again now. Begin tomorrow. Begin every day until your name stands among the few who mastered themselves and, in mastering themselves, mastered life. Now rise and begin.